What's up, everybody? John Arapoli here with My MMA News, and today's guest will be fighting Curtis Blaydes in the main event of UFC Columbus on March 26th. Pleased to be joined today by Chris Daukaus. Chris, thanks for being here, man. Really appreciate the time.
Of course. Thanks for having me as always, man. I appreciate it.
Hey, no problem at all. So, we were just having a great conversation off air here about things that aren't related to anything fighting, and we will have a little bit of
Yeah.
conversation about some of that stuff kind of in a little bit here, but I do want to actually
Yeah.
talk about some fight related things here. Of course, big main event slot for you coming up here. We're, I think, at the time of recording this, like a little less than 2 weeks out from fight night. So,
Yeah.
just how are you feeling right now as fight night kind of creeps up here?
I'm feeling good. I've been staying busy. I had to take some time off with the Derek Lewis fight and the Derek Lewis loss. But my body feels good. No injuries or anything like that. I feel mentally sharp. Yeah, I'm just ready to go. Avenge a loss and get back on track with the wins. And who better to do it than Curtis Blaydes? You know what I mean? He's really a staple in the heavyweight division, especially in the top 3 or 4 guys. So I'm really excited to test myself against who I think is probably on paper the number one heavyweight wrestler. And he's got the records for most takedowns in a fight, and I think he's got the records for most takedowns in the heavyweight division. So I'm really excited to see how I stack up against a guy like him.
Yeah, so I'm glad you brought up the wrestling credentials there because I was just going to actually
Yeah,
ask you about that. So, obviously, like you said, well-known wrestler, probably the best in the
yeah,
heavyweight division. When you're
yeah.
preparing for him, do you bring a wrestler into camp, or do you kind of just go with the guys that you have? Like, how do you kind of get ready for a guy that's such a standout elite wrestler like you're going to be facing?
I've been fortunate enough to have a wide variety of training partners. Ryan Appleby's a really big wrestler, collegiate wrestler for that I've been working with. So I've just been not letting Ryan. Ryan has just taken me down for the past however many weeks we've been working together. I've actually been working with Ryan for the past couple of fights, so it's really good. So yeah, I just get my ass kicked. Everyone's starting on the single leg. Everyone's starting on the double leg. People are starting with body locks against the cage, and I'm working, just trying to get up, just trying to break lock. So, it's a position that I don't want to be in, but it's a position that I expect to be in, especially with talking about the type of fighters that Curtis Blaydes has taken down and kept down. I respect Curtis Blaydes in the fact of his skill and his skill set, but I'm going to do everything I can to keep the feet, keep it standing and let my hands go.
So we know the story time and time again whenever somebody's fighting a guy with a wrestling heavy approach, and Michael Bisping always lays this out perfectly. He's always saying, when you're fighting a guy that's a great wrestler, you always tend to, your hands are getting lower and lower because you're getting
Yeah.
ready to stuff a takedown. They come over the top like an overhand right and you get cracked. So when you're in
Yep.
camp, right, preparing for a heavy wrestler like this, how do you kind of approach the stand-up part of it then? Like, are you working on different things like to be prepared for like a situation like that where an overhand right comes out of nowhere? Because obviously that's
Yeah.
the hard thing about fighting a wrestler is you don't know where the hell they're going to go.
Yeah. And, Blades is really, it appears that he's gotten more comfortable on the feet, as in testing his stand up against his most recent opponents, Rosenstrike, who's a world class kickboxer, before he made the jump over to MMA. He was getting comfortable in the feet. He might have got touched a little bit, a little scary points for Curtis in that fight, especially I think with the flying knee he caught him with. Um, but it's exciting because Blades has really turned into a well-rounded MMA fighter, and I hope he abandons the wrestling for the first round and wants to throw hands a little bit. That'll be fun. But no, I fully expect him to mix it up, come out, test the hands a little bit, test the feet a little bit, and test my wrestling defense, and then we'll go from there. Once that the first exchange happens and that first wrestling exchange happens, we'll see where this fight goes. You never really know what's going to happen in MMA. Like you said, my hands could be a little low. We could be coming over top. So it's just all things that I have to be ready for.
And of course, right, the five round club here. I know the last time you
Yeah,
fought, you were scheduled to go 5 rounds. How do you kind of get
yeah,
yourself ready to go and prepare and make sure your body's ready to go for what could be possibly a long grueling night? I know you don't want it to be. You're gonna be looking to
yeah. I
go out
don't
there and
want
get
to do
it
that,
early,
man.
but
Yeah, it's just it's ever since the Derek Lewis fight, I really haven't let off on the training. Obviously, I let my body heal as far as getting hit, my brain heal as far as getting hit. No really heavy sparring, anything like that. No really head contact. That's just I. It's just not good for you. And even before the Derek Lewis the loss, I was a real big, against like heavy sparring and like there's people and like hate to bring this dude up, but Sean Strickland and the way he fights and he trains and he's always posting shit on Instagram of him, then he's just throwing shin pads on and then like little MMA gloves on. Like they might be 6 ounces, they might be 8 ounces, and he's going like sparring hard. Like that's not good. Like that's not good for your mental, like your brain health. That's not good for your brain health. As far as getting your timing down and seeing and things like that and seeing punches and seeing kicks come at you, there's a time and place as far as for drilling and high intensity drilling and high intensity pad work and reactive pad work as far as you or your pad holder calling things out or you working like that. But I'm a big guy against sparring heavy anymore, and it's not any type of feeling. It's just you have to make it to the fight, and you have to make it to the fight, and there's no reason for that you should be compromised. So that's what I'm doing.
all right, so a few takeaways from that there. The first thing I thought of when you were saying all that, actually, I'm going to go football reference here, maybe people could relate to. In football, obviously, for years, the big thing was you had to go out there and full pads on, hitting every day. Now, a lot of
Yeah,
the coaches that are successful, all the younger coaches, like I'm a Packers fan, Matt LaFleur is young, the Rams just won a
yeah,
Super Bowl, McVay, they actually went away from that where they want to keep the guys
yeah,
fresh to last all year long so their body's not taking the beating. Obviously, kind of something
yeah,
similar here.
absolutely.
You're talking about, going against the sparring. Well, when you obviously aren't sparring as much, what are some of the things? I know you mentioned there about different reaction things and whatnot,
Yeah,
but so I guess two-part question. Number one, how good does the body feel when you go in on fight night and you're not taking the beating of the sparring in the gym? And number two, how
yeah,
exactly are you keeping yourself sharp? I know you did mention some of those drills, but just touch on that a little bit more if you can.
yeah. So really, it's now don't get what I'm saying like misconstrued. Like when I go hard, we go hard. As far as wrestling and jiu-jitsu and wall work and our quote unquote like little glove training as far as throwing MMA gloves on and you're going 5 5s or you're doing the rounds and stuff like that, we're going. But you were not blasting our partners as far as I'm not throwing 100% leg kicks. I'm not trying to throw the hardest 1 2 straight down the middle to break your face. Like um, it's just stuff like that you have to really like be mindful of. And just your body as far as you going into fight night. Like before, it was like the the week of the fight was the best week. Like as far as like training wise and recovery, because I wasn't getting beat up. I wasn't, I wasn't putting my body through that. I gave my body that time to recover, and I'm just, really, really now as far as like allowing my body to recover day by day, which is really, really good. Yeah, and then just like the drills, like you can get like a really good like cardio push and everything from a solid pad session or like a reactive drilling session as far as like Dutch drills. Like you throw a 1 2, your partner comes back with something, you're slipping and ripping, but you're not hitting your partner. You're hitting the gloves, you're hitting the pads, you're doing whatever. And I think that really is like a big factor. And like you were saying, a lot of the football coaches now are going towards that. I think that that's where MMA is going now. Obviously when you're first starting out in MMA, you need to learn how to fight. You need to learn how to get punched in the head. You need to learn how to get punched and react. After a certain time, I think that the benefits outweigh everything. So it's really like, you know, should I be, sparring however many times a week for however many weeks? Is that going to be detrimental to my health? So just trying to get away from all that.
So this, of course, is your second straight main event. I did want to ask, right? There's some pressures to being a main eventer, right? Extra media,
Yeah,
everything else.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
when you're doing this type of stuff, is there like so going through this once? Have you picked up anything to help with this process? Because being the main eventer again, a lot to deal with. I know, like I said, I mentioned the media, but there's also all the different signings, the different
yeah,
production meetings and whatnot. So, being this is your second
yeah,
time doing this, do you feel a lot more comfortable going out there for a main event, like maybe as opposed to
yeah.
how you were the first time?
Yeah, I mean, I felt comfortable. Like that was a thing. Like when the first main event with Derek Lewis, I was extremely comfortable as far as doing the extra media, any of the extra obligations. This one's a little different. It's going to be with the fans and the crowd, so I don't know what the UFC has in store as far as like meetings or signings or what I'm going to be doing. But I felt totally fine. This is what I want. This is what This is what fighters want. They want to be main eventing a UFC card. This is you get paid to main event a UFC card. Your name's out there. People know you. People are looking forward to you. Whether they're looking forward to you smashing somebody or you getting smashed, people just want to get out there and just talk about you, and I'm fine with that. Um, but yeah, this is definitely easier as far as setting up the interviews, dealing with 10 times more interviews because you're the main event. You're doing X amount of interviews during a regular fight week, and now that it's a main event, you're doing that much more. So it's just I'm okay with all this. This is what I want, and I have no pressure. I have no pressure as far as dealing with the media or anything like that.
And then, of course, right, fans in attendance, like you just said there.
Yeah.
Two-parter here. Number one, fights obviously on the East Coast. You're a Philadelphia
Yep.
guy. Your whole UFC career, you've pretty much been fighting out in Vegas and going out
Yeah.
west there. Of course, with coronavirus, not a lot of fans in attendance. You did get a pay-per-view event where there were fans.
Yes.
So I guess here's a two-parter. Number one, just how excited are you to be fighting on the East Coast? Probably could get some fans
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
whatnot in attendance, being an East Coast guy. And then number two, just what's your thoughts on having the fans back? Because fighters have different reactions to it. Some people actually
Yeah.
did like fighting with no fans in attendance, and they were more comfortable. Other people want to feed off the energy of the crowd. So, just what's your take on that?
So first part, it's great to be fighting on the East Coast. The time difference definitely messes with me at least a little bit. I have to stay up a little extra to get my body acclimated to the Vegas time. It'd be like 5 o'clock there, 6 o'clock there, Vegas time, and I'm falling asleep. And I'm like, I can't be falling asleep because I'm fighting at like 8 or 9 o'clock. So, yeah, I really enjoy fighting in Vegas. Really enjoy, doing all that, going out there. That's all I really know, to be honest with you, since fighting in the UFC. So we'll see how this fighting on the East Coast goes, but it'll be good not to have any kind of time difference and just continue with my normal training schedule as far as my time and my body be ready to go. Um, and the second part with the crowd and no crowd, um, dude, I was fighting in front of no crowds, and then all of a sudden I got hit with the 266 crowd. That was awesome. Uh, it really is. It's something to fight in the UFC when there's nobody there. It's something to fight in the Apex, and that's special in itself. But there's also something really special to fight in front of a UFC crowd. And I'm going to be quite honest with you. I like the crowd. I love that energy. I love all that. I love I still get goosebumps thinking back about standing in the tunnel before I was ready to go, and people start coming over in the tunnel. They're yelling at you. They're doing the music hits, and you're going. That's awesome. That's awesome to me. So yeah, I've only had one experience, but it was definitely a lasting experience, and I can't wait to experience that again.
And now, Chris, just then with some outside the cage stuff, and this first one is still kind of in cage related. I did want to get your take on your brother's performance recently. Big win. Now that's got to get him pretty close to getting a middleweight ranking. I know he wants to crack that ranking system. Just your thoughts on that victory and kind of where he's at in his career.
I completely agree. Maybe give him a guy who's in the same boat as him, who's right there on the cusp of the outside of the 15, so quote unquote the 20ish, or just give him a top 15 guy. I mean, if I'll say, I think if Weidman, I think my brother beats Weidman. He's coming back from the injury, honestly, but if he wants to fight in the summer and he's ranked like 14th or 15th, I think my brother beats him. And his last performance, my brother, was pure domination, in my opinion. You really can't get a better performance than that. He was hit, I think, once or twice, controlled every position, controlled the groundwork, and finished, with 1 second left in the first. It's really good. He's really coming into his own, and it's going to be really scary, especially when he starts letting his hands go and starts, touching up these guys. So it's really good.
Yeah, great performance by him. And now to the stuff that's actually outside of the cage. I did see, still family related here too, by the way, but I did see on, I think it was on Instagram, your son just turned 3, I think back in January. So just how we're, those few fun months of obviously having the holidays with Christmas and that, and then going to your son's birthday. I'm sure it's been a great time back there in the Daukaus household.
Yeah, it's been crazy. The household's been crazy. His birthday, my brother's birthday, everybody. My wife's is coming up soon, and then and the end of June, my wife's due. So I'm gonna have another one running around here. Excuse me. So it's life's happening. Life's going by a little crazy. I wish it would slow down a little bit, but Christmas was awesome, and life is really good for me right now. Obviously you can nitpick about little things and wish that your life was better in certain ways, but I'm gonna be honest with you, it's really good, man. I'm really happy with where I'm at in life, in my personal life, in my career, in all my relationships with people at the gym, and my personal. I'm really happy right now, and it feels really good. It feels really good.
And now, finally, just to end things, this is a topic you've been very vocal on, I believe, on your Twitter account. This is a thing that's taken the whole MMA community by storm here, the whole Cain Velasquez situation. Really crazy stuff going on there. I actually wore this outfit on purpose today with the red, white, and blue tie because this is a important topic here in America, what we're seeing right now, because obviously Cain had a family member molested by somebody, and a lot of people always say, if my son or daughter or whoever ever got molested by somebody, I would do this. Well, Cain actually took the initiative. He went out. He did it. Obviously, we know what happened to him. He's now in prison. You believe he should be released. A lot of people do, too, in the MMA community. I think everybody in the MMA community is behind Cain with the whole Free Cain movement. Obviously, you worked in law enforcement, too, so this is a topic I'm sure you could touch on from both ends of the argument here. Just your thoughts on that whole entire crazy situation with Cain Velasquez.
Yeah, all right, so I'll break it down into 2 parts. So as a father and as a husband and a father of a son and soon-to-be daughter, I completely agree with what Cain did. I understand. I completely understand where Cain came from. I completely understand the level of emotion, and I couldn't imagine the type of feelings that he was feeling. Speaking as a former law enforcement officer and a former cop, can't do that. You can't just go around doing that. That's vigilantism. It's vigilante justice. Now, am I saying that this country's judicial system and is perfect? No. This is definitely not. Especially in California. Apparently, the guy he was trying to kill is still out. Apparently, and like supervised release or whatever the hell it's called. I think that that's bullshit, in my opinion. But I'm not anyone to have a say in these things. I mean, I'll give you my opinion, but when it comes down to it, my opinion doesn't matter. But I just think that there needs to be a serious look at the facts of the case, the facts of what happened. Now, granted, we're only privy to a certain narrow scope of things. When the trial starts, when everything starts getting going with the court proceedings, that's when the bigger picture will come out and the broader light will start being shown on the actual topic. But like I said, as a father, as a husband, and someone who has small children, like my son's 3 years old. My wife is pregnant with our second baby, little girl. Can I say that I would have acted different than Cain? I cannot confidently say that I would have acted any different than Cain Velasquez. If people don't like me for that, that's fine. But it is what it is. That's just how it is. As a law enforcement officer, if I was to respond to that call, obviously I would lock Cain Velasquez up and then do what I had to do as far as that. But it's a really shitty situation, and everyone's has their own opinion, and that's kind of my opinion.
Yeah, it's a crazy thing. It really is. There's so many moving parts with it. But I know we could talk for like a half hour just on this Cain Velasquez situation. So don't want to touch on it too much. I know it's a sensitive topic maybe to some people, but hopefully Cain will get out of prison there at some point. But anyway, Chris, thanks for the time here today, man. Really appreciate it. One last thing now before we roll out: social media management sponsors. Anybody got to give a shout out to? Floor is yours.
Yeah, so just check me out, Chris_Daukaus MMA on Instagram and Twitter. I generally get back to everybody on Twitter, so if you guys want to actually have a real conversation with me, just hit me up on Twitter. I'll talk to you about really anything. As somebody could tell from my previous Cain Velasquez post and the giant threads that I was going back and forth with people. But yeah, just really, Hector, manager at Fire Sports MMA, at Fire Sports Management, really couldn't ask for a better team to be helping me out. Obviously, everyone at the gym, Martinez, BJJ, Rich Bowler, and all those guys. Really appreciate everything, and seriously, thank you for everything.
All right, guys, that was Chris Daukaus. Chris, thanks so much for the time here today, man. Really appreciate it. And to everybody that was out there watching today's interview, I appreciate your time as well. If you like today's interview, go to the bottom, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to this YouTube channel if you haven't done so already. And keep going to MyMMANews. Great content comes out there. We also have a great social media following as well. So if you haven't followed our social media accounts, make sure you go on and find those on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We'll see you later, everybody.